Good afternoon from PK the Squirrel Guy. I just want to say that I believe this country has reached a turning point in itself. The loss of Charlie Kirk is sad in itself. This is not politically motivated. This is as a person and as a human being with faith. And I know that many don't want to hear that, and that's fine. But Charlie Kirk was a man that, above all else, loved his God and was able to sit with college students who are known to not be very agreeable to anything that they don't believe in or like. And yet he was able to do one thing that so many of us can't do well, and that is listen. He would listen and hear everything they had to say before he would present his thoughts. Dialogue. Open dialogue. Just because you and I may disagree fundamentally doesn't mean that we can't be friends. It doesn't mean that there should be a division between us. I think many people forget that long before the Civil War happened, there was something called the Revolutionary War. And the Revolutionary War was fought because a large group of people left Europe for religious freedom, because they were not able to live their faith and they needed somewhere where they wouldn't be persecuted. They came to America. They formed this country. They formed towns and states and then fought for this to become a country. So before you say church and state should be separated to protect the state, remember that this state, this government, was founded on the principle of religious freedom because they wanted to live their faith. Not because they wanted to get away from it, not because they wanted to flee God. They wanted to serve God. Somewhere along the line, we've been taught that showing faith and showing a love of God is wrong, that we should hide it for the happiness of others. And I believe that many have forgotten that faith is just as important as freedom of speech. It was the freedom to serve their faith and their God that made the men that founded this country leave their homes and come to an uninhabited wilderness and form a new and free country for all of us. I think now that what happened to Charlie Kirk has become something that forced me to stand up and say, I think this is wrong. And the fact that there are people celebrating his death is what makes me upset. How can anyone look in the mirror and say they believe it's right to celebrate the death of a father, a husband who lived a good life, who lived to serve God, and wanted to try to make this country a better place for everyone? Even if you disagree with his politics, he was a human father and husband that actually did more than most of us will ever do. He would listen before he spoke. This is something that I believe is a turning point for all of us. I think it's a turning point for us to learn to speak, learn to use these platforms to promote the freedoms that have been forgotten. Charlie Kirk was a good man and a good person. Regardless of his politics, he did not deserve what happened to him. He did not deserve, his wife did not deserve what's happened to her, and now trying to explain it to two young kids. It breaks my heart. I don't have even 1,000 followers, so I don't know how many people will hear my voice, but I felt it was right for me to speak up and say I don't agree. That I think Charlie Kirk was a good human being, a good man, a good father, a good husband, and all he wanted was to make this country a better place, and I don't see how that's wrong. The freedom to express our faith is what made this country what it is. And we have been taught to hide that. And I think Charlie Kirk stood up against that norm. But he would give everyone the time to speak before he did. I'll never be able to recite the facts and figures that he was able to. I'd never be able to hold an argument the way he could. But I do promote open dialogue between people of differing opinions, different politics, different ideas, and I believe that giving everyone a chance to speak is a good thing. And I think that we can all learn a lot from somebody like Charlie Kirk. And I think if you are trying to celebrate his death or blame him for his death, can you look in the mirror and say that and feel good about who you are as a person just because you have different beliefs or different ideas? Isn't that what makes this country great? That we can have those different beliefs and different ideas and still live together in freedom? This country needs people to listen and to start working and talking together, not at each other and not against each other. Remember what founded this country, and remember what makes this country so amazing. The freedom that we have. And for all of us that have stayed quiet, I think this is the turning point. I think it's incredibly sad that it had happened the way it did. But Charlie Kirk's voice is louder now than it ever was. His voice has reached so many more than it ever had. And that's amazing in itself. There is no reason to ever celebrate death and call it a good thing. It solves nothing. But it does divide people. And Charlie didn't want to divide. He wanted open dialogue, which made us connect. If you can listen to somebody, you can connect. Even if you totally fundamentally disagree. I know this is a long video and I apologize. I don't know how many people will even see it, but I still felt it was right to speak out against some of these things and to say my heart goes out to Erica Kirk and her 2 young children. My heart goes out to that family, and I totally will continue to pray for them.